Hello. Hello, hello. Has OBS registered my presence? Am I live? Yay! I have audio and everything. OBS had managed to forget my... No camera for Drutty. Hang on a mo. That one goes off. That one goes on. Hello. Yes, OBS managed to forget my audio settings and my stream key. That was jolly. I thought, I'm no longer a human. I'm no longer a person. Yes, you're on placeholder, Druts, because it was that or do my hair. And I didn't have time for both. Puppy power. Where has the file gone? Children. Who has eaten? I had the file open. Why is it not in my recent files? Come on, you silly mare. What the hell? It's just ridiculous today. Absolute nonsense today. Unexpected need. Yeah, I had to re-authenticate. Reinsert my stream key, my new stream key. Confirm that yes, I was me. Yes, my phone was mine. It was very disconcerting. That's when you start to question your existence. Come on. I see. We're being like that, are we? Right. So how is everybody? I hope you're all having a cracking Monday and you have power and everything. I'm going to have to get rid of my sarcastic voice. I've been doing some narration and using my sarcastic sex offender voice, and that is probably not what I need for this. Probably. Almost certainly. Here we go. Why are you not switched on, window capture? You should be. There we go. Work continues being worky, but you're taking this opportunity for a break and a bit of breakfast. Good. Look after yourself. I worry about you. I mean, that's just the general thing. I worry about people I like, you know. I'm radical like that. Okay, so I want to do that one. Okay, so you've got the feed up. Yep, it counts. Absolutely. Food's food. I'm still quite impressed. I managed to come up with a halfway decent spelt bread on the spur of the moment today. Seriously, how many windows can I have open? Right. So I'm just giving myself an audio test, and yep, that's absolutely right. That's peaking in the correct place, so to speak. Breakfast is whatever you eat after waking. Yeah, I get very confused by sort of gym bros who do the when I get up, I have a banana and a high protein shake, and then later on I have breakfast, and I'm thinking, you don't know what breakfast means, do you? I break my fast, and then yay for the end of the carrots. Oh God, actually, I need to. Yeah, good point. I've got half a bag of carrots in my fridge. Right, know what I'm having for dinner later. Right. So if you're sitting comfortably, then I'll begin properly. Welcome to Druttercup's book club, and we are reading The Phoenix and the Carpet. We're on part 4, chapter 5. If you're on YouTube, please feel free to chuck the channel a subscription. If you feel that was very well fashioned of me, wasn't it? I think I'm falling into the Victoriana and Edwardian era here. Please subscribe, obviously, to YouTube, and if you're on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, God, come on, Twitch, and not yet following the channel, then please, pretty please, a follow would be lovely. Okay, now I've got the pleading, pathetic bit out of the way. Let's get underway with predictions as to the crimes committed by the children in The Phoenix and the Carpet this week. They have form, possibly previous. Right. I haven't actually read ahead, so I am predicting murder? Maybe major fraud, I'm not sure. So let's find out. Chapter 5, The Temple. I wish we could find the Phoenix, said Jane. It's much better company than the Carpet. As sentences go. Beastly ungrateful little kids are, said Sybil. No, I'm not. Only the Carpet never says anything, and it's so helpless. It doesn't seem able to take care of itself. It gets sold and taken into the sea and things like that. You wouldn't catch the Phoenix getting sold. Given there's temple in the chapter title, you're guessing some light heresy and or desecration. Yay. You'd say involuntary manslaughter rather than murder. It was 2 days after the bazaar. Everyone was a little cross. Some days are like that. Usually Mondays, by the way. And this was a Monday. And now I am officially freaked out. I shouldn't wonder if your precious Phoenix had gone off for good, said Cyril. And I don't know that I blame it. Look at the weather. It's not worth looking at, said Robert. And indeed it wasn't. The Phoenix hasn't gone. I'm sure it hasn't, said Anthea. I'll have another look for it. Honestly, as long as it's not accidental genocide, you'll consider us and them lucky. To be honest, wouldn't necessarily discount it. Anthea looked under tables and chairs and in boxes and baskets, in Mother's work bag and Father's portmanteau. But still the Phoenix showed not so much as the tip of one shining feather. Do not jinx us. Hee. Then suddenly Robert remembered how the whole of the Greek invocation song of 7,000 lines had been condensed by him into one English hexameter. So he stood on the carpet and chanted, "Oh, come along, you good old beautiful Phoenix." And almost at once there was a rustle of wings down the kitchen stairs, and the Phoenix sailed in on wide gold wings. Where on earth have you been? Asked Anthea. I've looked everywhere for you. Not everywhere, replied the bird, because you did not look in the place where I was. Confess that that hallowed spot was overlooked by you. What hallowed spot? Asked Cyril, a little impatiently. The time was hastening on, and the wishing carpet still idle. The spot, said the phoenix, which I hallowed by my golden presence, was the lutron. The what? The bath, the place of washing. I'm sure you weren't, said Jane. I looked there 3 times and moved all the towels. I was concealed, said the phoenix, on the summit of a metal column, enchanted, I should judge, for it felt warm to my golden toes, as though the glorious sun of the desert shone ever upon it. Oh, you mean the cylinder, said Cyril. It has a rather comforting feel, this weather. And now, where shall we go? And then, of course, the usual discussion broke out as to where they should go and what they should do. And naturally everyone wanted to do something that the others did not care about. If they wished they knew where the phoenix was, did that use a carpet wish? Well, there's a question. To be honest. And I don't know is the answer, and I'm not sure Nesbit thought about it. But I suppose if she wasn't actually standing on the carpet, then that's less likely to use it. I'm the oldest, Cyril remarked. Let's go to the North Pole. This weather, likely, Robert rejoined. Let's go to the equator. I think the diamond mines of Golconda would be nice, said Anthea. Don't you agree, Jane? No, I don't, retorted Jane. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with anybody. Just a point of principle, isn't it, with Jane? The phoenix raised a warning claw. If you cannot agree among yourselves, I fear I shall have to leave you, it said. Well, where shall we go? You decide, said all. If I were you, said the bird thoughtfully, I should give the carpet a rest. Besides, you'll lose the use of your legs if you go everywhere by carpet. Can't you take me out and explain your ugly city to me? We will if that clears it up. It will if it clears up, said Robert without enthusiasm. Just look at the rain. And why should we give the carpet a rest? Are you greedy and grasping and heartless and selfish? Asked the bird sharply. No, said Robert with indignation. Well then, said the phoenix. And as to the rain, well, I'm not fond of rain myself. If the sun knew I was here, he's very fond of shining on me because I look so bright and golden. He always says I repay a little attention. Haven't you some form of words suitable for use in wet weather? There's rain, rain, go away, said Anthea, but it never does go. Perhaps you don't say the invocation properly, said the bird. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day, little baby wants to play, said Anthea. That's quite wrong, and if you say it in that sort of dull way, I can quite understand the rain not taking any notice. You should open the window and shout as loud as you can. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. Now we want the sun, and so, pretty rain, be kind and go. You should always speak politely to people when you want them to do things, and especially when it's going away that you want them to do. And today you might add, Shine, great sun, the lovely phoenix is here and wants to be shone on, splendid sun, by thee. That's poetry, said Cyril decidedly. It's like it, said the more cautious Robert. I was obliged to put in lovely, said the phoenix modestly, to make the line long enough. There were plenty of nasty words just that length, said Jane, but everyone else just said hush, and then they opened the window and shouted the 7 lines as loud as they could, and the phoenix said all the words with them except lovely, and when they came to that, it looked down and coughed bashfully. Phoenix introduced the children to labour laws. Yes. Pardon me. The rain hesitated a moment. How does rain hesitate? Okay. The rain hesitated a moment and then went away. "That's true politeness," said the phoenix, and the next moment it was perched on the window ledge, opening and shutting its radiant wings and flapping out its golden feathers in such a flood of glorious sunshine as you sometimes have at sunset in autumn time. People said afterwards that there had not been such sunshine in December for years and years and years. "And now," said the bird, "we will go out into the city, and you shall take me to see one of my temples." "Your temples?" "I gather from the carpet that I have many temples in this land." "I don't see how you can find out anything from it," said Jane. "It never speaks." "All the same, you can pick up things from a carpet," said the bird. "I've seen you do it, and I've picked up several pieces of information in this way. That papyrus on which you showed me my picture, I understand that it bears on it the name of the street of your city in which my finest temple stands, and that my image graved in stone and in metal over its portal." "You mean the fire insurance office?" said Robert. "Not really a temple, and they don't—" "Excuse me," said the phoenix coldly. "You are wholly misinformed. It is a temple, and they do." "Don't let's waste the sunshine," said Anthea. "We might argue as we go along to save time." So the phoenix consented to make itself a nest in the breast of Robert's Norfolk jacket, and they all went out into the splendid sunshine. The best way to the Temple of the Phoenix seemed to be to take the tram, and on top of it the children talked, while the phoenix now and then put out a wary beak, cocked a cautious eye, and contradicted what the children were saying. "Oh Lord, those poor insurance folks." Yes. I love how the phoenix has no idea what the city's like, but is absolutely certain that that is his temple, and he's not having anyone saying otherwise. It was a delicious ride, and the children felt how lucky they were to have had the money to pay for it. They went with the tram as far as it went, and when it did not go any further, they stopped too and got off. The tram stops at the end of the Gray's Inn Road, and it was Cyril who thought that one might well find a shortcut to the Phoenix office through the little streets and courts that lie tightly packed between Fetter Lane and Ludgate Circus. Of course, he was quite mistaken, as Robert told him at the time, and afterwards Robert did not forbear to remind his brother how he had said so. The streets there were small and stuffy and ugly, and crowded with printers' boys and binders' girls coming out from work, and these stared so hard at the pretty red coats and caps of the sisters that they wished they had gone some other way. And the printers and binders made very personal remarks, advising Jane to get her hair cut and inquiring where Anthea had bought that hat. Jane and Anthea scorned to reply, and Cyril and Robert found that they were hardly a match for the rough crowd. They could think of nothing nasty enough to say. They turned a corner sharply, and then Anthea pulled Jane into an archway, and then inside a door. Cyril and Robert quickly followed, and the jeering crowd passed by without seeing them. "Arson, arson, arson," I say. I apologise, I'm going to be on quite a lot of drink breaks today. For some reason, I'm just really thirsty. Anthea drew a long breath. "How awful," she said. "I didn't know there were such people except in books." "It was a bit thick, but it's partly your girl's fault, coming out in those flashy coats." "We thought we ought to when we were going out with the phoenix," said Jane, and the bird said, "Quite right, too," and incautiously put out his head to give her a wink of encouragement. "They are very sheltered. I mean, for of the era, they've actually got quite a lot of freedom, but they don't seem to have engaged with people. They seem to very much be in amongst themselves. And all their information comes from school or from the stories they read. Or that they commit arson, they just stay together. Yeah. They have to look after each other. And I just don't think they really engage with anyone else. It's like the bit with the bazaar, they had absolutely no idea how to handle the other stall holders. You wonder they don't have school friends to hang out with. Yeah, not really a thing, unfortunately. Or not really a thing if they don't live necessarily live near each other. Yes, understandable. There's enough of them as a group. They don't need to have other friends. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. They are a solid. They're a pack, really. And I think, especially having gone through the Samyad book, the Five Children in It, they're kind of now bound together, and they can have conversations about things like the carpet, the Samyad, the Phoenix, and nobody else would get it. But yes, even before then, you feel that they were basically handled as a unit and kept away from everybody else. Phoenix and in the Five Children in It, they're shipped off to a relative's house for the summer, if I recall. And I don't think they really have much say in the matter. Okay. At the same instant, a dirty hand reached through the grim balustrade of the staircase beside them and clutched the Phoenix, and the hoarse voice said, "I say, Herb, blowed if this ain't our poll parrot what we lost. Thank you very much, lady, for bringing him home to roost." The four turned swiftly. Two large and ragged boys were crouched amid the dark shadows of the stairs. They were much larger than Robert and Cyril, and one of them had snatched the Phoenix away and was holding it high above their heads. "Give me that bird," said Cyril sternly. "It's ours." "Good afternoon, and thanking you," the boy went on, with maddening mockery. "Sorry I can't give you twopence for your trouble, but I've had to spend my fortune advertising for my valuable bird in all the newspapers. You can call for the reward next year." "Look out, Ike," said his friend, a little anxiously. "It have a beak on it." "It's other parties will have a beak on you presently," said Ike, darkly. "If they come a trying to lay claims on my poll parrot, you just shut up, Herb. Now, you four little girls, get out of here." "Little girls?" cried Robert. "I'll little girl you." He sprang out 3 stairs and hit out. There was a squawk, the most bird-like noise anyone had ever heard from the Phoenix, and a fluttering and a laugh in the darkness, and Ike said, "There now, you've been and gone and struck my poll parrot right in the feathers. Struck him something cruel, you have." Robert stamped with fury. Cyril felt himself going pale with rage, and the effort of screwing up his brain to make it clever enough to think of some way of being even with those boys. Anthea and Jane were as angry as the boys, but it made them want to cry. Yet it was Anthea who said, "Do please let us have the bird." "Do please get along and let us have a bird alone." "If you don't," said Anthea, "I shall fetch the police." "You better," said the one who said he was named Herb. "Say, Ike, you twist the blooming pigeon's neck. He ain't worth twopence." "Oh no," cried Jane. "Don't hurt it. Oh, don't. It's such a pet." "I won't hurt it," said Ike. "I'm ashamed of you, Herb, for thinking of such a thing. Half a shiner, miss, and that bird's yours for life." "Half a what?" said Anthea. "Half a shiner, quid, thick un, half a sov, then." "I haven't got it, and besides, it's our bird," said Anthea. "I don't talk to him," said Cyril, and then Jane said suddenly, "Phoenix, dear Phoenix, we can't do anything. You must manage it." "With pleasure," said the Phoenix, and Ike nearly dropped it in his amazement. "I say, do talk something like," said he. "Youths," said the Phoenix, "sons of misfortune, hear my words." "My eyes," said Ike. "Look out, Ike," said Herb. "You'll throttle the joker, and I see at once it was worth his weight in flimsies, too." "Hearken, O iconoclast, despiser of sacred images, and thou, Urbanus, dweller in the sordid city, forbear this adventure, lest a worse thing befall. Restore me to my young acolytes, and escape unscathed. Retain me, and—" "They must have got all this up, case the Polly got pinched," said Ike. "Lord lummy, the artfulness of them young uns." I say slosh 'em in the geesich and get away with the swags, what I say, urged Herbert. Righto, said Isaac. Who's Isaac? When did Isaac turn up? Forbear, repeated the Phoenix sternly. Who pinched the click off the old bloke in Aldermanbury? It added in a changed tone. Who sneaked the nose rag out of that young girl's in the Bell Court? Who? Stow it, said Ike. You leave go of me. Bash him off, Herb. He'll have my blooming eyes out of my head. Is Ike short for Isaac? Yes, indeed. Sorry, that's me being dense. You were responsible for these kids. They'd be all getting karate classes. Well, they could legitimately be doing Bartitsu. Quite happily. Which of course incorporates jujitsu and is a fantastic school of self-defense. Which is wonderful, and it's a wonderful mixture of savat, jiu-jitsu, pugilism, bare knuckle boxing, and what was the other thing? Oh yeah, Kanvinyi. So beating the crap out of people with hands, feet, wrestling, and a walking stick. That was a fun day I spent. I would really love to do some more of that. It was good fun. And Sherlock Holmes is skilled in it, according to The Empty House, although it's misspelt Baritsu, but it's Bartitsu. Described as the school of Japanese wrestling, and it's not. It's a combination of various martial arts. It's one of the first mixed martial arts. And now you know something that I hadn't burbled about before. Where am I? There were howls, a scuffle, a flutter. Ike and Herb fled up the stairs, and the Phoenix swept out through the doorway. The children followed, and the Phoenix settled on Robert, like a butterfly on a rose, as Anthea said afterward. Children armed with martial arts, what crimes will they commit? Yes. And yes, indeed, President Dwight D. Ike Eisenhower, yeah. Ike's not a common contraction in the UK. Well, not modern day, anyway. Yeah, I was never entirely sure about that. That was Wing Chun's very good, but yeah, Bartitsu it's such a big mixture. Yeah. Richie knows Jiu-Jitsu and Robert Downey Jr. knows Wing Chun. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I liked the fight scenes, I have to say. The plot overall needed to be about 20 minutes shorter and actually finish. But yeah. Very good elements, though. Right, where am I? Autocorrect is not your friend. Autocorrupt hates everybody. You're okay. Like a butterfly on a rose, as Anthea said afterwards, and wriggled into the breast of his Norfolk jacket like an eel into mud, as Cyril later said. Why ever didn't you burn him? You could have, you know. You could have, couldn't you? Asked Robert Arson. When the hurried flight through the narrow courts had ended in the safe wideness of Farringdon Street. I could have, of course, said the bird, but I didn't think it would be dignified to allow myself to get warm about a little thing like that. The fates, after all, have not been illiberal to me. I have a good many friends among the London sparrows, and I have a beak and claws. These happenings had somewhat shaken the adventurous temper of the children, and the Phoenix had to exert its golden self to hearten them up. Presently the children came to a great house in Lombard Street, and there on each of the doors was the image of the phoenix carved in stone, and set forth upon shining brass were the words Phoenix Fire Office. "One moment," said the bird. "Fire? For altars, I suppose." "I don't know," said Robert, but he was beginning to feel shy, and that always made him rather cross. "Oh, yes, you do," Cyril contradicted. "When people's houses are burned down, the phoenix gives them new houses. Father told me. I asked him." "The house, then, like the phoenix, rises from the ashes. Well, have my priests dealt with the sons of men?" "The sons of men pay, you know," said Anthea, "but it's only a little every year." "That is to maintain my priests," said the bird, "who in the hour of affliction heal sorrows and rebuild houses. Lead on, inquire for the high priest. I will not break upon them too suddenly in all my glory. Noble and honour-deserving are they who make as naught the evil deeds of the lame-footed and unpleasing Hephaestus." Sounds like the father's been planning ahead and looking for future assistance. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? Depending on the coverage, insurance isn't all that cheap. Yeah, fire insurance, if it's on its own, it's not terrible, but yeah. And those of us who have just renewed our home insurance might reconsider it's only a little a year. Where are we? I just don't know what you're talking about, and I wish you wouldn't muddle us with new names. Fire just happens. Nobody does it. Not as a deed, you know, Cyril explained. If they did, the phoenix wouldn't help them because it's a crime to set fire to things. Arsenic or something they call it, because it isn't as bad as poisoning people. Because it's as bad as poisoning people. The phoenix wouldn't help them. Father told me it wouldn't. "My priests do well," said the phoenix. "Lead on." "I don't know what to say," said Cyril, and the others said the same. "Ask for the high priest," said the phoenix. "Say that you have a secret to unfold that concerns my worship, and he will lead you to the innermost sanctuary." So the children went in, all four of them, though they didn't like it, and stood in a large and beautiful hall adorned with Dalton tiles, like a large and beautiful bath with no water in it, and stately pillars supporting the roof. "Children, you are intimately familiar with arson." Yes. No, I don't know what arson is, honest Gov. An unpleasing representation of the phoenix in brown pottery disfigured one wall. There were counters and desks of mahogany and brass, and clerks bent over the desks and walked behind the counters. There was a great clock over an inner doorway. "Inquire for the high priest," whispered the phoenix. An attentive clerk in decent black, who controlled his mouth but not his eyebrows, now came towards them. He leaned forward on the counter, and the children thought he was going to say, "What can I have the pleasure of showing you?" like in a draper's. Instead of which, the young man said, "And what do you want?" "We want to see the high priest." "Get along with you," said the young man. An elder man, also decent in black coat, advanced. "Perhaps it's Mr. Blank. Not for words would I give the name. He's a Masonic high priest, you know." A porter was sent away to look for Mr. Asterix. I cannot give his name. And the children were left there to look on and be looked on by all the gentlemen at the mahogany desks. Anthea and Jane thought they looked kind. The boys thought they stared, and that it was like their cheek. The porter returned with the news that Mr. Dot Dash Dot, I dare not reveal his name, was out, but that Mr. Dash had here a really gentleman. Excuse me. Here a really delightful gentleman appeared. He had a beard and a kind and merry eye, and each of the four knew at once that this was the man who had kiddies of his own and could understand what you were talking about. Yet it was a difficult thing to explain. "What is it?" he asked. "Mr. He named the name which I will never reveal, is out. Can I do anything?" "Inner sanctuary," murmured the phoenix. "I beg your pardon," said the nice gentleman, who thought it was Robert who had spoken. We have something to tell you, said Cyril, but he glanced at the porter, who was lingering much nearer than he need have done. This is a very public place. The nice gentleman laughed. Come upstairs, then, he said, and led the way up a wide and beautiful staircase. Anthea says the stairs were of white marble, but I'm not sure. On the corner post of the stairs at the top was a beautiful image of the phoenix in dark metal, and on the wall at each side was a flat sort of image of it. Hiram, are you okay? Hiram, you appear to be talking in Korean. The nice gentleman led them into a room where the chairs and even the tables were covered in reddish leather. He looked at the children inquiringly. Don't be frightened, he said. Tell me exactly what you want. May I shut the door? Asked Cyril. The gentleman looked surprised, but he shut the door. Now, said Cyril firmly, I know you'll be awfully surprised, and you'll think it's not true, and we are lunatics, but we aren't, and it is. Robert's got something inside his Norfolk. That's Robert. He's my young brother. Now, don't be upset and have a fit or anything, sir. Of course, I know when he's called your shop the Phoenix, you never thought there was one, but there it is, and Robert's got it buttoned up against his chest. Ah, fair enough, Hiram. That explains it. If it's an old curio in the form of a phoenix, I dare say the board, said the nice gentleman as Robert began to fumble with his buttons. It's old enough, said Anthea, going by what it says, but... My goodness gracious, said the gentleman, as the phoenix, with one last wriggle that melted into a flutter, got out of its nest in the breast of Robert and stood up on the leather-covered table. What an extraordinarily fine bird, he went on. I don't think I ever saw one just like it. I should think not, said the phoenix with pardonable pride, and the gentleman jumped. Oh, it's been taught to speak. Some sort of parrot, perhaps? I am, said the bird simply, the head of your house, and I have come to my temple to receive your homage. I am no parrot, its beak curved scornfully. I am the one and only phoenix, and I demand the homage of my high priest. In the absence of our manager, the gentleman began, exactly as though he were addressing a valued customer. In the absence of our manager, I might perhaps be able... What am I saying? He turned pale and passed his hand over his brow. My dears, he said, the weather is unusually warm for the time of year, and I don't feel quite myself. Do you know, for a moment I really thought that remarkable bird of yours had spoken and said it was a phoenix, and what's more, that I believed it. So it did, sir, said Cyril, and so did you. It really... Allow me. A bell was rung. The porter appeared. Mackenzie, said the gentleman, you see that golden bird? Yes, sir. The other breathed a sigh of relief. It is real, then? Yes, sir. Of course, sir. You take it in your hand, sir, said the porter sympathetically, and reached out his hand to the phoenix, who shrank back on the toes curved with agitated indignation. Forbear, it cried. How dare you seek to lay hands on me? The porter saluted. Beg pardon, sir. I thought you was a bird. I am a bird, the phoenix. Of course you are, sir, said the porter. I see that the first minute, directly I got my breath, sir. That will do, said the gentleman. Ask Mr. Wilson and Mr. Sterry to step up here for a moment, please. Mr. Sterry and Mr. Wilson were in their turn overcome by amazement, quickly followed by conviction. In the case of the children, by convictions. Yeah, the porter's great. Just utterly unflappable, no pun intended. To the surprise of the children, everyone in the office took the phoenix at its word, and after the first shock of surprise, it seemed to be perfectly natural to everyone that the phoenix should be alive, and that, passing through London, it should call at its temple. We ought to have some sort of ceremony, said the nicest gentleman anxiously. There isn't time to summon the directors and shareholders. We might do that tomorrow, perhaps. Yes, the boardroom would be best. I shouldn't like it to feel we hadn't done everything in our power to show our appreciation of its condescension in looking at us, looking in on us in this friendly way. Okay, Hiram. I'm glad you're cozy now. The children could hardly believe their ears. They had never thought that anyone but themselves would believe in the phoenix, and yet everyone did. All the men in the office were brought in by twos and threes, and the moment the phoenix opened its beak, it convinced the cleverest of them, as well as those who were not so clever. Cyril wondered how the story would look in the papers the next day. He seemed to see the posters in the streets. Phoenix Fire Office, the phoenix at its temple, meeting to welcome it, delight of the manager and everybody. Excuse our leaving you a moment, said the nice gentleman, and he went away with the others. And through the half-closed door, the children could hear the sound of many boots on stairs, the hum of excited voices explaining, suggesting, arguing, the thumpy drag of heavy furniture being moved around. The phoenix strutted up and down the leather-covered table, looking over its shoulder at its pretty back. You see what a convincing manner I have, it said proudly. And now a new gentleman came in and said, bowing low, Everything's prepared. We've done our best at so short a notice. The meeting, the ceremony, will be in the boardroom. Will the Honourable Phoenix walk? It's only a few steps, or would it like some sort of conveyance? Mr. Robert will bear me to the boardroom, if that will be the unlovely name of my temple's inmost court, said the bird. So they all followed the gentleman. There was a big table in the boardroom, but it had been pushed right up under the long windows at one side, and chairs were arranged in rows across the room, like those you have at schools when there's a magic lantern on our Eastern Empire, or the way we do in the Navy. The doors were of carved wood, very beautiful, with a carved phoenix above. Anthea noticed the chairs in the front rows were of the kind that her mother so loved to ask the price of in old furniture shops, and never could buy because the price was almost nearly £20 each. On the mantelpiece were some heavy bronze candlesticks and a clock, and at the top of the clock was another image of the phoenix. Remove that effigy, said the phoenix to the gentlemen who were there, and it was hastily taken down. Then the phoenix fluttered to the middle of the mantelpiece and stood there, looking more golden than ever. Then every one in the house and office came in, from the cashier to the women who cooked the clerks' dinners in the beautiful kitchen at the top of the house, and everyone bowed to the phoenix and then sat down in a chair. Gentlemen, said the nicest gentleman, we have met here today. The phoenix was turning its golden beak from side to side. I didn't notice any incense, it said, with an injured sniff. A hurried consultation ended in plates being fetched from the kitchen. Brown sugar, sealing wax, and tobacco were placed on these, and something from a square bottle was poured over it all. Then a match was applied. It was the only incense that was handy in the Phoenix office, and it certainly burned very briskly and smoked a great deal. We have met here today, said the gentleman again, on an occasion unparalleled in the annals of this office. Our respected Phoenix, head of the house, said the Phoenix in a hollow voice. I was coming to that. Our respected Phoenix, the head of this ancient house, has at length done us the honour to come among us. I think we may say, gentlemen, that we are not insensible to this honour, and that we welcome with no uncertain voice one whom we have so long desired to see in our midst. Phoenix incense is a fire hazard. You might come back from burning, but nothing else does. I just love how everybody's just gone, what can we set fire to that smells okay? Okay. Bung it on the plate, let's go for it. Several of the younger clerks thought of saying hear, hear, but they feared it might seem disrespectful to the bird. I will not take up your time, the speaker went on, by recapitulating the advantages to be derived from a proper use of our system of fire insurance. I know, and you know, gentlemen, that our aim has ever been to be worthy of that eminent bird whose name we bear, and who now adorns our mantelpiece with his presence. 3 cheers, gentlemen, for the winged head of the house. The cheers rose, deafening. When they died away, the Phoenix was asked to say a few words. And, it went on, you must not think me wanting in appreciation of your very hearty and cordial reception, when I ask that an ode may be recited or a choric song sung. It's what I've always been accustomed to. The 4 children, dumb witnesses of this wonderful scene, glanced a little nervously across the foam of white faces above the sea of black coats. It seemed to them that the phoenix was really asking a little too much. "Time presses," said the phoenix, "and the original ode of invocation is long as well as being Greek, and besides, it is no use invoking me when I'm here. But is there not a song in your own tongue for a great day such as this?" Absently, the manager began to sing, and one by one the rest joined. "Absolute security, no liability, all kinds of property insured against fire. Terms most favourable, expenses reasonable, moderate rates for annual insurance." "That one's not my favourite," interrupted the phoenix, "and I think you've forgotten part of it." The manager hastily began again. "O golden phoenix, fairest bird, the whole great world has often heard of all the splendid things we do, great phoenix, just to honour you." Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be a jingle, but yeah, it's probably printed on their advertising. You can imagine their newspaper ads. "That's better," said the birds, and everyone sang. "Class 1 for private dwelling house, for household goods and shops allows, provided those are built of brick or stone and tiled and slated thick." We see exactly. No, we sail the wide accountant sea. "Try another verse," said the phoenix, further on. And again rose the voices of all the clerks and employees and managers and secretaries and cooks. "In Scotland our insurance yields the price of burned-up stacks in fields." "Skip that verse," said the phoenix. "Thatched dwellings and their whole contents we deal with also with their rents. O glorious phoenix, look and see that these are dealt with in class 3. The glories of your temple throng, too thick to go in any song. We attend, O good and wise, to days of grace and merchandise. When people's homes are burned away, they never have a cent to pay. If they have done as all should do, O Phoenix, and have honoured you, so let us raise our voice and sing in praises of the Phoenix King, in classes 1 and 2 and 3. O trust to him, for kind is he." "I'm sure you're very kind," said the phoenix, "and now we must be going. And thank you very much for a very pleasant time. May you all prosper as you deserve to do, for I'm sure a nicer, pleasanter spoken lot of temple attendants I've never met, and never wish to meet. I wish you all good day." It fluttered to the wrist of Robert and drew the 4 children from the room. The whole of the office staff followed down the wide stairs and filed into their accustomed places, and the 2 most important officials stood on the steps bowing till Robert had buttoned the golden bird in his Norfolk bosom, and it and he and the 3 other children were lost in the crowd. The 2 most important gentlemen looked at each other earnestly and strangely for a moment, and then retreated to those sacred inner rooms where they toiled without ceasing for the good of the house. And the moment they were all in their places, managers, secretaries, clerks, and porters, they all started, and each looked cautiously around to see if anyone was looking at him, for each thought that they had fallen asleep for a few minutes, and had dreamed a very long dream about the phoenix and the boardroom. And of course no one mentioned it to anyone else, because going to sleep at your office is a thing you simply must not do. Half ad campaign, half in-house mnemonic. Yep, absolutely. The extraordinary confusion of the boardroom, with the remains of the incense in the plates, would have shown them at once that the visit of the phoenix had been no dream, but a radiant reality. But no one went into the boardroom again that day. And next day, before the office was opened, it was all cleaned and put nice and tidy by a lady whose business asking questions was not part of. "Hey Fish, happy affiliate anniversary to me apparently. Did I care? Not really. Not really relevant. But welcome." That is why Cyril read the papers in vain on the next day and the day after that, because no sensible person thinks his dreams worth putting in the paper, and no one will ever own that he has been asleep in the daytime. The phoenix was very pleased, but it decided to write an ode for itself. It thought the ones it had heard at its temple had been too hastily composed. Its own ode began, for beauty and for modest worth, the phoenix has not its equal on earth. And when the children went to bed that night, it was still trying to cut down the last line to the proper length without taking out any of what it wanted to say. This is what makes poetry so difficult. Thank you, Fish. Yeah, I know. You very nice person, Fish. And thank you for the extended subscription. So, that was the end of chapter 5. I don't know how many chapters there are in this book. I think we're about halfway. So, would people like... That was fairly short. Would people like chapter 6? If I do, I'm unconvinced I will be streaming a game later. But I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. I haven't got the camera on. But I'm happy to go on and do the second chapter here. Okay, that's fine. Sorry, just one more. Okay. Sorry, just one sec. Why is it that some people do feel the need to be dickheads? Okay. Right. You're up for another... Yeah, no, it won't put me out at all. You're up for another chapter. Okay. Chapter 6. Doing good. Oh, this could go so wrong. We shan't be able to go anywhere on the carpet for a whole week, though, said Robert. And I'm glad of it, said Jane unexpectedly. Glad, said Cyril. Glad? It was breakfast time, and Mother's letter telling them how they were all going for Christmas to their aunts at Lyndhurst, and how Father and Mother would meet them there, having been read by everyone, lay on the table, drinking hot bacon fat with one corner and eating marmalade with the other. Yes, glad, said Jane. I don't want any more things to happen just now. I feel like you do when you've been to 3 parties in a week. Like we did at Granny's once, and extras in between, toys and chocks and things like that. I want everything to be just real and no fancy things happening at all. I don't like being obliged to keep things from Mother, said Anthea. I don't know why, but it makes me feel selfish and mean. If we could only get the mater to believe it, we might take her to the jolliest places, said Cyril, thoughtfully. As it is, we've just got to be selfish and mean, if it is that, but I don't feel it is. I know it isn't, but I feel it is, said Anthea, and that's just as bad. It's worse, said Robert. If you knew it and didn't feel it, it wouldn't matter so much. That's being a hardened criminal, Father says, put in Cyril. And he picked up Mother's letter and wiped its corners with his handkerchief, to whose colour a trifle of bacon fat and marmalade made but a little difference. Yeah, Jane nails it. We're going tomorrow anyhow, said Robert. Don't, he added with a good boy expression on his face, don't let's be ungrateful for our blessings. Don't let's waste the day in saying how horrid it is to keep secrets from Mother, when we all know Anthea tried all she knew to give her the secret and she wouldn't take it. Let's get on the carpet and have a jolly good wish. You'll have time enough to repent of things all next week. Yes, said Cyril. It's not really wrong. Well, look here, said Anthea. You know there's something about Christmas that makes you want to be good, however little you wish it at other times. Couldn't we wish the carpet to take us somewhere where we could just have the chance to do some good and kind action? It would be an adventure just the same, she pleaded. I don't mind, said Cyril. We shan't know where we're going, and that'll be exciting. No one knows what'll happen. We'd best put our outers on in case. We might rescue a traveller buried in snow like St. Bernard dogs with barrels round our necks, said Jane, beginning to be interested. Or we might arrive just in time to see a will being signed. More tea, please, said Robert. And we should see the old man hide it away in the secret cupboard, and then after long years, when the rightful heir was in despair, we should lead him to the hidden panel and— Yes, interrupted Anthea, or we might be taken to some freezing garret in a German town, where a poor little pale sick child— We haven't any German money, interrupted Cyril, so that's a no-go. What I should like would be getting into the middle of a war and getting hold of secret intelligence and taking it to the general, and he would make me a lieutenant or a scout or a hussar. God help us if they attempt an avalanche rescue. Yes, absolutely. When breakfast was cleared away, Anthea swept the carpet, and the children sat down on it, together with the phoenix, who had been especially invited as a Christmas treat to come with them and witness the good and kind action they were about to do. 4 children and 1 bird were ready, and the wish was wished. Everyone closed its eyes so as to feel the topsy-turvy swirl of the carpet's movement as little as possible. When the eyes were opened again, the children found themselves on the carpet, and the carpet was in its proper place on the floor of their own nursery in Camden Town. Do not wish for war, boys. You're less than a decade out from what you'll think is the worst war in the history of wars. Maybe it took the carpet a while to wind up. I say, said Cyril, here's a go. Do you think it's worn out? The wishing part of it, I mean, Robert anxiously asked the Phoenix. It's not that, said the Phoenix, but, well, what did you wish? Oh, I see what it means, said Robert with deep disgust. It's like the end of a fairy story in a Sunday magazine. How perfectly beastly. You mean it means we can do kind and good actions where we are? I see. I suppose it wants us to carry coals for the cook or make clothes for the bare heathens. Well, I simply won't. And the last day and everything. Look here. Cyril spoke firmly and loudly. We want to go somewhere really interesting, where we have the chance of doing something good and kind. We don't want to do it here, but somewhere else, see? Now then. The obedient carpet started instantly, and the 4 children and 1 bird fell in a heap together, and as they fell were plunged in perfect darkness. You all there? Said Anthea, breathlessly through the black dark. Everyone owned that it was there. Where are we? Oh, how shivery and wet it is. Oh, I've put my hand in the puddle. Has anyone got any matches? Said Anthea hopelessly. She felt sure that no one would have any. It was then that Robert, with a radiant smile of triumph that was quite wasted in the darkness, where, of course, no one could see anything, drew out of his pocket a box of matches, struck a match and lighted a candle, 2 candles. And everyone with its mouth open blinked at the sudden light. Well done, Bobs, said his sisters, and even Cyril's brotherly feelings could not check his admiration of Robert's foresight. Why do these children always have matches? They really do. I've always carried them about ever since the Lone Tower day, said Robert with modest pride. I knew we should want them some day. I kept the secret well, didn't I? Oh, yes, said Cyril with fine scorn. I found them the Sunday after, when I was feeling in your Norfolks for the knife you borrowed off me, but I thought you'd only sneak them for Chinese lanterns or reading in bed by. Bobs, said Anthea suddenly, do you know where we are? This is the underground passage, and look, there's the money and the money bags and everything. They've been hanging out with the 8th Doctor, that's why they've got the matches. Yes. We gloss over Cyril feeling in Bobs's Norfolks. By which, of course, we know he means the jacket. Reading in bed with matches. I'm hoping that he was meaning reading in bed with candles. But, yeah. It's a miracle the house hasn't burned down. This house must be completely fireproof, given what they did in chapter 1. You know, flinging paraffin on a firework. By this time, the 10 Eyes had got used to the light of the candles, and no one could help seeing that Anthea spoke the truth. It seems an odd place to do good and kind acts in, though, said Jane. There's no one to do them to. Don't you be too sure, said Cyril. Just round the next turning we might find a prisoner who's been languishing here for years and years, and we could take him on our carpet and restore him to his sorrowing friends. Of course we could, said Robert, standing up and holding the candle above his head to see further off. Or we might find the bones of a poor prisoner and take them to his friends to be buried properly. That's always a kind action in books, though I could never see what bones matter. I wish you wouldn't, said Jane. The book doesn't record all the many times the children have said, I wish the house wasn't on fire between their recorded adventures. You reckon they save one most days? Doing good acts to a person, not for a person. Yeah. I think that use of language is not accidental. It's all very much what they are doing, not the benefit anybody else might get from it. Where are we? I know exactly where we shall find the bones too, Robert went on. You see that dark arch just along the passage? Well, just inside there. If you don't stop going on like that, said Jane firmly, I shall scream and then I'll faint, so now then. And I will too, said Anthea. Robert was not pleased at being checked in his flight of fancy. You thought historically accurate children always had matches. Yeah. You've never seen some of the British PSAs on do not play with matches. Yeesh. The public service information films did not muck around. You girls will never be great writers, he said bitterly. They just love to think of things in dungeons and chains and knobbly bare human bones and... Shut up and get out of my work in progress folder, Robert. Jane had opened her mouth to scream, but before she could decide how you began when you wanted to faint, the golden voice of the phoenix spoke through the gloom. Peace, it said. There are no bones here except the small but useful sets that you have inside you. And you did not invite me to come out with you to hear you talk about bones, but to see you do some good and kind action. We can't do it here, said Robert sulkily. No, rejoined the bird. The only thing we can do here, it seems, is try to frighten our little sisters. He didn't really, and I'm not so very little, said Jane, rather ungratefully. Robert was silent. It was Cyril who suggested that perhaps they had better take the money and go. That wouldn't be a kind act except to ourselves, and it wouldn't be good, whatever way you look at it, said Anthea, to take money that's not ours. We might take it and spend it all on benefits to the poor and aged, said Cyril. That wouldn't make it right to steal, said Anthea stoutly. I don't know, said Cyril. They are all standing up now. Stealing has taken things that belong to someone else, and there's no one else. It can't be stealing if... That's right, said Robert with ironic approval. Stand here all day arguing while the candles burn out. You'll like it awfully when it's dark again, and bony. Let's get out then, said Anthea. We can argue as we go. So they rolled up the carpet and went. But when they'd crept along to the place where the passage led to the topless tower, they found the way blocked by a great stone which they could not move. There, said Robert. Hope you're satisfied. Everything has two ends, said the phoenix softly. Even a quarrel or a secret passage. So they turned and went back, and Robert was made to go first with one of the candles because he was the one who begun to talk about bones, and Cyril carried the carpet. "Wish you hadn't put bones into our head," said Jane as they went along. "I didn't, you always had them, more bones than brains," said Robert. The passage was long, and there were arches and steps and turnings and dark alcoves that the girls did not much like passing. The passage ended in a flight of steps. And if Fish is still on chat, I wonder if the flight of steps are the right length for the corridor. Robert went up them. Suddenly he staggered heavily back on the following feet of Jane, and everybody screamed, "Oi, what is it?" "I've only bashed my head in," said Robert, when he groaned for some time, "that's all. Don't mention it. I like it. The stairs just go right slap into the ceiling, and it's a stone ceiling. You can't do good and kind actions underneath a paving stone." "Stairs aren't meant to lead just to paving stones as a general rule," said the Phoenix. "Put your shoulder to the wheel." "There isn't any wheel," said the injured Robert, still rubbing his head. But Cyril had pushed past him to the top stair and was already shoving his hardest against the stone above. Of course, it did not give in the least. "If it's a trap door," said Cyril, and then he stopped shoving and began to feel about with his hands. "Yes, there's a bolt. I can't move it." "Phoenix, you've never been to the Winchester Mystery House." "Ha Yes. By a happy chance. Oh, God. Okay. Yep. Arson. By a happy chance, Cyril had in his pocket the oil can of his father's bicycle. He put the carpet down at the foot of the stairs, and he lay on his back with his head on the top step and his feet straggling down among his young relations, and he oiled the bolts till the drops of rust and oil fell down on his face. Of course he did. Yes, indeed. Yep. Robert had the matches and Cyril's got a can of oil. I mean, what are you going to do? One even went into his mouth, open as he panted with the exertion of keeping up this unnatural position. Then he tried again, but still the bolt would not move. So now he tied his handkerchief, the one with the bacon fat and marmalade on it, to the bolt, and Robert's handkerchief to that, in a reef knot, which cannot come undone however much you pull, and indeed gets tighter and tighter the more you pull it. This must not be confused with the granny knot, which comes undone if you look at it. Oh, somebody did that section in their Girl Guides training. Who has the rope and the pole for the DIY fishing pole? There were D&D campaigns less well prepared than these kids. Yes! These children are adventurers. And then he and Robert pulled, and the girls put their arms around their brothers and pulled too. And suddenly the bolt gave way with a rusty scrunch, and they all rolled together to the bottom of the stairs, all but the Phoenix, which had taken to its wings when the pulling began. Nobody was hurt much, because the rolled-up carpet broke their fall, and now, indeed, the shoulders of the boys were used to some purpose, for the stone allowed them to heave it up. They felt it give, and dust fell freely on them. "Now then," cried Robert, forgetting his head and his temper, "push all together. 1, 2, 3." The stone was heaved up. It was swung up on a creaking, unwilling hinge, and showed a growing oblong of dazzling daylight, and it fell back with a bang against something that kept it upright. Everyone climbed out, but there was not room for everyone to stand comfortably in the little paved house where they found themselves. So when the Phoenix had fluttered up from the darkness, they let the stone down, and it closed like a trapdoor, as indeed it was. You can have no idea how dusty and dirty the children were. Fortunately, there was no one to see them but each other. The place they were in was a little shrine built on the side of a road that was winding up through yellow-green fields to the topless tower. Below them were fields and orchards, all bare boughs and brown furrows, and little houses and gardens. The shrine was a kind of tiny chapel with no front wall, just a place for people to stop and rest in and wish to be good. So the Phoenix told them. There was an image that had once been brightly coloured, but the rain and snow had beaten in through the open front of the shrine, and the poor image was dull and weather-stained. under which was written Saint Jean de Luz, Priez pour nous. It was a sad little place, very neglected and lonely, and yet it was nice, Anthea thought, that poor travellers should come to this little rest house in the hurry and worry of their journeyings, and be quiet for a few minutes and think about being good. The thought of Saint Jean de Luz, who had, no doubt, in his time been very good and kind, made Anthea want even more than ever to do something kind and good. "Tell us," she said to the Phoenix, "what is the good and kind action the carpet brought us here to do?" "I think it would be kind to find the owners of the treasure and tell them about it," said Cyril. "And give it them all?" said Jane. "Yes, but whose is it?" "I should go to the first house and ask the name of the owner of the castle," said the Golden Bird, and really the idea seemed a good one. Are the sacks of money Pilgrims' donations that have been stashed away? It could be. If there's a tower that's all that remains of a castle, though, it, could be anything up to and including castle treasury. They dusted each other as well as they could and went down the road. A little way on they found a tiny spring bubbling out of the hillside and falling into a rough stone basin, surrounded by draggled hart's-tongue ferns, now hardly green at all. Here the children washed their hands and faces and dried them on their pocket handkerchiefs, which always on these occasions seemed unnaturally small. Cyril's and Robert's handkerchiefs indeed rather undid the effects of the wash, but in spite of this the party certainly looked cleaner than before. The first house they came to was a little white house with green shutters and a slate roof. It stood in a prim little garden, and down each side of the neat path were large stone vases for flowers to grow in, but all the flowers were dead now. Along one side of the house was a sort of wide veranda built of poles and trellis work, and a vine crawled all over it. It was wider than our English verandas, and Anthea thought it must look lovely when the green leaves and the grapes were there. But now there were only dry, reddish-brown stalks and stems, with a few withered leaves caught in them. The children walked up to the front door. It was green and narrow. A chain with a handle hung beside it, and joined itself quite openly to a rusty bell that hung under the porch. Cyril had pulled the bell, and its noisy clang was dying away before the terrible thought came to all. Cyril spoke it. "My hat," he breathed, "we don't know any French." That's actually quite impressive for the era. At this point, the door opened. A very tall, lean lady, with pale ringlets like whitey-brown paper or oak shavings, stood before them. She had an ugly grey dress and a black silk apron. Her eyes were small and grey and not pretty, and the rims were red as though she'd been crying. She addressed the party in something that sounded like a foreign language and ended with something that they were sure was a question. Of course, no one could answer it. "What does she say?" said Robert asked, looking down into the hollow of his jacket where the phoenix was nesting. Yes, France is right next door. They don't have GCSE. No, but they would have been doing O-levels. Well, they'd have been doing their exams. I'm trying to remember when O-levels were introduced. So it was before modern qualifications, but they would still have been learning languages. English, Latin, almost certainly Latin, possibly German, and French. Okay, fish, laters, have a good one. But yeah, then they should have been learning Latin at this time. I'm not even going to attempt the accent. I apologise. "You are from England," she cried. "I love so much the England. Mais entrez. Entrez donc tout. Enter then, enter all. One essays his feet on the carpet." She pointed to the mat. "We only wanted to ask—" "I shall say all that you wish," said the lady. "Enter only." So they all went in, wiping their feet on a very clean mat and putting the carpet in a safe corner of the veranda. "The most beautiful days of my life," said the lady as she shut the door, "did pass themselves in England, and since long time I have not heard an English voice to repel me the past." This warm welcome embarrassed everyone. but mostly the boys, for the floor of the hall was of such very clean red and white tiles, and the floor of the sitting room was so very shiny, like a black looking glass, that each felt as though he had on far more boots than usual and far noisier. There was a wood fire, very small and very bright, on the hearth. Neat little logs laid on brass fire dogs. Some portraits of powdered ladies and gentlemen hung in oval frames on the pale walls. There were silver candlesticks on the mantelpiece, and there were chairs and a table, very slim and polite, with slender legs. With Latin, you can guess a lot. You took Spanish in high school, and one day when you finished a module and you did a French module just for fun, aced it, and that was straight guessing. Yeah, I did Latin at school for GCSE, and that really helped with my French because I was appalling at French. I wasn't bad at Latin. And having done that, it's made learning Spanish much easier, even though it's been God knows how many years. It gave me a fighting chance. Where are we? The room was extremely bare, but with a bright foreign bareness that was very cheerful in an odd way of its own. At the end of the polished table, a very un-English little boy sat on a footstool in a high-backed, uncomfortable-looking chair. He wore black velvet, and the kind of collar, all frills and lacy, that Robert would rather have dyed than wear, but then the little French boy was much younger than Robert. Your Midland French school didn't offer Latin, just French, Spanish, and eventually the exotic option of German. We had to fight to do Latin GCSE. We did it up until the third year, and they said they weren't going to let us do GCSE Latin because there weren't enough people. As it was, there weren't enough to get us on the curriculum, so we had to do it before assembly, or before registration when everybody else was at assembly in the mornings. So only about 5 of us. It was quite fun, but it did mean that there was a period where they thought we hadn't turned up for school for like 6 weeks because nobody had told our form teachers that we were going to be doing Latin in registration time. And they didn't take our registration, so I actually had a phone call to my mum saying, Linda has not turned up for school. And I'm like, Linda has. Thank you. That was an awkward conversation. We got it sorted out, but yeah, that was a bit of a left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing. Yep, communication's always been stellar in schools. Oh, how pretty, said everyone, but no one meant the little French boy with the velvety short knickerbockers and the velvety short hair. What everyone admired was a little Christmas tree, very green and standing in a very red little flower pot, and hung round with very bright little things made of tinsel and coloured paper. There were tiny candles on the tree, but they were not lighted yet. But yes, is it not that it is genteel, said the lady. Sit down you then, and let us see. The children sat down in a row on the stiff chairs against the wall, and the lady lighted a long, slim red taper at the wood flame. And then she drew the curtains and lit the little candles, and when they were all lighted, the little French boy suddenly shouted, Bravo, mon tante! Oh, que c'est gentil! And the English children shouted, Hooray! Then there was a struggle in the breast of Robert, and out fluttered the phoenix. Spread his gold wings, flew to the top of the Christmas tree, and perched there. Your high school days were before Zoom and Skype, but there were locations allowing for video classes, and that's how your friend took Russian when the standard options were French, Spanish, and German. Oh, interesting. I just have fond memories of the language lab tapes. Everybody attached to huge headsets doing the audio écoutez, répétez. Oh, catch it, cried the lady. It will burn itself, your genteel parakeet. It won't, said Robert, thank you. And then the little French boy clapped his clean and tidy hands, but the lady was so anxious that the phoenix fluttered down and walked up and down on the shiny walnut wood table. Is it that it talks? Asked the lady. And the phoenix replied in excellent French. It said, Parfaitement, madame. Oh, the pretty parakeet, said the lady. Can it say still of other things? And the phoenix replied, this time in English. Why are you so sad near Christmas time? The children looked at it with one gasp of horror and surprise, for the youngest of them knew that it is far from manners to notice that strangers have been crying, and much worse to ask them the reason for their tears. And of course the lady began to cry again, very much indeed, after calling the phoenix a bird without a heart, and she could not find her handkerchief, so Anthea offered hers, which was still very damp and no use at all. She also hugged the lady, and this seemed to be of more use than the handkerchief, so that presently the lady stopped crying, found her own handkerchief, dried her eyes, and called Anthea a cherished angel. "I'm sorry we came just when you were so sad," said Anthea, "but we really only wanted to ask you whose castle that is on that hill." "Oh, my little angel," said the poor lady, sniffing. "Today and for hundreds of years the castle is to us, to our family. Tomorrow it must that I sell it to some strangers, and my little Henri, who ignores all, he will not have never the lands paternal. But what will you? His father, my brother, Mr. the Marquis, has spent much of the money, and despite the sentiments of familial respect, I admit that my scented father, he also. How would you feel if you found a lot of money, hundreds and thousands of gold pieces?" asked Cyril. The lady smiled sadly. "Ah, one has already recounted to you the legend," she said. "It's true that one says that it is long time, oh, but long time, one of our ancestors has hid a treasure of gold, and of gold, and of gold, enough to enrich my little Henri for the life. But all that, my children, is but the accounts of fays." "She means fairy stories," whispered the phoenix to Robert. "Tell her what you found." So Robert told, while Anthea and Jane hugged the lady for fear she should faint with joy, like people in books, and they hugged her with the earnest, joyous hugs of unselfish delight. "It's no use explaining how we got in," said Robert, when he had told of the finding of the treasure, "because you'd find it a little difficult to understand and much more difficult to believe. But we can show you where the gold is and help you to fetch it away." The lady looked doubtfully at Robert as she absently returned the hugs of the girls. "No, he's not making it up," said Anthea. "It's true, 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 and we are so glad." "You would not be capable to torment an old woman," she said, "and it is not possible that it be a dream." "It really is true," said Cyril, "and I congratulate you very much." His tone of studied politeness seemed to convince more than the raptures of the others. "Holidays are stressful, Phoenix, yes." "If I do not dream," she said, "Henri come to Manon, and you shall come to all with me to Mr. the curate. Is it not?" Manon was a wrinkled old woman with a red and yellow handkerchief twisted around her head. She took Henri, who was already sleepy with the excitement of his Christmas tree and his visitors, and when the lady had put on a stiff black cape and a wonderful black silk bonnet and a pair of black wooden clogs over her black cashmere house boots, the whole party went down the road to a little white house, very like the one they had left, where an old priest with a good face welcomed them with a politeness so great it hid his astonishment. The lady, with her French waving hands and her shrugging French shoulders, God, and her trembling French speech, told the story. And now the priest, who knew no English, shrugged his shoulders and waved his hands and spoke also in French. "He thinks," whispered the phoenix, "that her troubles have turned her brain. What a pity you know no French." "I do know a lot of French," whispered Robert indignantly, "but it's all about the pencil of the gardener's son and the penknife of the baker's niece. Nothing that anyone ever wants to say. Else they have had French lessons then. They just haven't had practicals." "If I speak," the bird whispered, "he'll think he's mad too. Tell me what to say." C'est vrai, monsieur. Venez donc voir," said the phoenix. And then Robert earned the undying respect of everyone by suddenly saying very loudly and distinctly, "C'est vrai, monsieur, venez donc voir." The priest was disappointed when he found that Robert's French began and ended with these useful words, but at any rate he saw that if the lady was mad she was not the only one, and he put on a big beavery hat and got a candle and matches and a spade, and they all went up the hill to the wayside shrine of St. John of Luz. "Now," said Robert, "I will go first and show you where it is." So they prized up the stone with the corner of the spade, and Robert did go first, and they all followed and found the golden treasure exactly as they had left it, and everyone was flushed with the joy of performing such a wonderfully kind action. Then the lady and the priest clasped hands and wept for joy, as French people do, and knelt down and touched the money and talked very fast and both together, and the lady embraced all the children 3 times each and called them little garden angels. And then she and the priest shook each other by both hands again and talked and talked and talked, faster and more Frenchy than you would have believed possible. And the children were struck dumb with joy and pleasure. "Get away now," said the phoenix softly, breaking in on the radiant dream. So the children crept away, and out through the little shrine, and the lady and the priest were so tearfully, talkatively happy that they never noticed that the guardian angels had gone. The garden angels ran down the hill to the lady's little house, where they'd left the carpet on the veranda, and they spread it out and said, "Home," and no one saw them disappear except little Henri, who had flattened his nose into a white button against the window glass, and when he tried to tell his aunt, she thought he had been dreaming, so that was all right. "It's much the best thing we've done," said Anthea when they talked it over at tea time. "In the future we'll only do kind actions with the carpet." Said the phoenix. "I beg your pardon," said Anthea. "Oh, nothing," said the bird. "I was only thinking." Right. I'm going to leave that there then. So, no arson in that one. A spot of dungeon bashing, but no arson, despite them carrying matches and accelerants on a regular basis. And yes, that was a kind thing. That was indeed a kind thing. I mean, we assume that the lady was a nice lady. Avoided arson by luck. Yes. You are welcome for the surprisingly flame-free company. I love that in the previous chapter the Phoenix clearly brainwashed the entire staff of the fire insurance company. It's definitely using powers there, I feel. Yes, was this character development? Possibly. Clearly, however, the Phoenix did not believe a word they said when they talked about the "we will only do good now." I mean, good for, nice gold and all that, children, but I can't see it, to be honest with you. So, we will call it there for tonight. It's 9 o'clock. I am not going to start a game stream now. Many apologies, and if anyone was wanting to see it. I will, however, have a quick break, and then I may well swap to a Discord stream. So people can still watch it if they wish, but it won't be on Twitch or YouTube. They are still kids, but trying to be good counts. Yeah. They've been abandoned by their parents. I mean, they're going off for Christmas with relatives, but the relatives are already hosting their parents. So these poor sods are basically left to their own devices with a maid and a cook. It's amazing the house is still there. Right. Okie dokie. So, thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this week's book club. And I will see you guys next Monday for more.